The International Civil Aviation Organization accepted the lawsuit filed by Venezuela against Argentina following the seizure and subsequent scrapping of the teleSUR transport company's plane. Haiti swore in an internationally backed transitional government on Thursday in a secret ceremony amid the threat of violence in the capital Port-au-Prince. And the Israeli occupation army continued its attacks against the Palestinian population of the Gaza Strip as local media reported 79 people killed and another 86 injured. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, accepted the lawsuit filed by Venezuela against Argentina after verifying its violations of the Chicago Convention following the hijacking and subsequent scrapping of the teleSUR transport company's plane. In compliance with the rules of procedure, the international organization has verified that the complaint conforms in form to the requirements of Article 2. The notification of the ICAO, and in accordance with Article 3 of the regulations, notified the members of the Council of the receipt of the claim. In the aforementioned complaint and report by Venezuela, it claims that since June 8, 2022, the Republic of Argentina has committed violations of several articles of the Chicago Convention through the application of the illegal unilateral restrictive measures of a discriminatory nature against the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. The government of Venezuela alleged that such violations occurred in the context of the inconveniences suffered by the non-scheduled flights belonging to the Conviasa consortium and leased by the latter to the teleSUR transport company. And we continue in Venezuela. At its 23rd summit, ALBA TCP approves the Caracas Declaration to promote the strategic agenda towards 2030, as it also expressed solidarity with the peoples of Palestine.
On the meeting, President Nicolás Maduro presented a 7-line agenda of the regional group until 2030, which includes an offensive to raise resources for development projects within the framework of the bloc. Through two operational instances, the ALBA Bank and the ALBA Project Office, it further proposed relaunching Petrocaribe, the creation of ALBA Food, the constitution of the People's Trade Agreement, the Cultural Communication Academy and Scientific Program, as well as creating the Climate Change Impacts Mitigation Agency.
We've received an extraordinary proposal with 7 lines of action, which we've called the ALBA 2030 Agenda. The paramount goals here, in the short term, in the medium term 2030 or beyond.
Meanwhile, the President of Bolivia, Luis Arce, requested the inclusion of Palestine in the bloc of the Bolivarian Alliance. In this context, the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Ralph Gonsalves, reported that the United States bears fruit from a war economy.
Inviting the State of Palestine to join as a full member of the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our Americas, People's Trade Agreement, ALBA TCP.
War is always a byproduct of imperialism. Monopoly capitalism cannot exist without war. The essential to U.S. survival is the war economy.
On the other hand, President of Cuba, Miguel Díaz-Canel, thanked support of ALBA in the fight against the illegal U.S. blockade.
We appreciate the steadfast support of the Alliance for the fight against the end of the illegal genocide, blockade of the U.S. government against the Cuban people, tightened to extreme levels in recent years. We further thank the valuable support for the legitimate demand to remove Cuba from the arbitrary unilateral states sponsoring terrorism list.
In addition, President of Nicaragua, Daniel Ortega, condemned interfering U.S. actions regarding the controversy over the territory of Guyana Esequiba. The arbitrary territorial occupancy which ought be defined according to the declaration of December 14, 2023. Concerning the territory in negotiation with Guyana. But the negotiation is seriously affected from the time they give concessions. There are two oil companies and warships from the United States are moving to the area committing a crime, another crime. Caribbean representatives from countries such as Dominica and Antigua and Barbuda paid tribute to Commanders Fidel Castro and Hugo Chavez for the creation of the bloc, further noting that ALBA TCP should expand action in food affairs.
I would like to pay tribute to the founders of ALBA, President Hugo Chavez and President Fidel Castro. Those were two gentlemen who have been pioneers in many aspects of development in this world. And it is to their visions they have created ALBA. They have created PetroCaribe, and they were principal proponents of CELAC. And we see all of these institutions became a reality, and they have been possible to help citizens not only in our hemisphere, but worldwide.
ALBA must continue to strengthen its solidarity and to increase functional cooperation, just in areas issues including defense of sovereignty to nurture us, increasing our economic cooperation, greater trade and investments in order to strengthen our hemispheric group.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister of St. Lucia stated that since January 8, 2024, the island officially joined the ALBA TCP to fight together against poverty and climate change.
Our problems are alike because we always struggle against poverty. And we are also combating climate change. We also suffer from discrimination and exploitation of countries that are much bigger than us. That is why, on January 8 of this year, St. Lucia officially joined ALBA. And St. Lucia will be a full member of ALBA soon.
On the meeting, the ALBA TCP member states seek to identify the lines of work and actions that tackle the transformation of Latin American societies based on popular empowerment, the strengthening of sovereignty, solidarity, and cooperation with an anti-imperialist and unitary approach, favorable to development with growth, social justice, and economy.
Let's take a short break. If you remember, you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and more. All the stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. Haiti swore in an internationally backed transitional government on Thursday in a secret ceremony amid the threat of violence in the capital Port-au-Prince. The announcement came as the former Prime Minister Ariel Henry released a statement saying he was resigning after being unable to return to the country due to the gang's control of the capital city. During the sworn-in ceremony, interim Prime Minister Michael Patrick Boisvert said the island nation was at crossroads and was facing a multidimensional political crisis. On Thursday, the Israeli occupation army continued its attacks against the Palestinian population of the Gaza Strip, as local media reported that 79 people were killed and 86 injured. Wafa news agency reported that Israeli airplanes attacked a house belonging to the Al-Jamal family east of Rafah, killing 5 people and leaving several wounded, most of whom were children and women. In another bombing in the same locality, 1 civilian was killed and several were injured. Attacks were also registered in several cities in Deir al-Balah, Gaza City and Habalia. Since the beginning of the Israeli siege on Gaza last October 7th, a total of 34,262 Gazans have been killed and more than 77,000 Palestinians were wounded. After over 200 days of continuous Israeli genocidal war on Gaza, the destruction of medical centers and civil infrastructures of all types is now a commonplace in the area. One example of the devastation is the Al-Shifa hospital. What remains now of what once was Gaza's largest medical center is a pile of rubble, which its former medical staff see with horrifying eyes.
The Al-Shifa hospital was developed as Gaza's central health center. Originally, an internal medicine department was set up, followed by one section for surgery. Later on, new buildings were added for pediatrics and ophthalmology. Al-Shifa means healing in Arabic. While touring around the former emergency area, the head of the Medical Rehabilitation Committee, Dr. Marwan Abu Sada, recalls what the health institution was like just before the war.
This facility was the largest and most comprehensive hospital in Palestine, featuring 750 beds, 32 intensive care units, and 26 operating rooms. Previously, it served 250,000 patients and visitors. We are now standing in what remains of its emergency department, which was noted for its large capacity.
Meanwhile, Amjad Ayalwa, an emergency doctor in Gaza, tells us about his experience since the beginning of the siege and calls on the international community to help stop the war and to increase its shipment of medical supplies to the Gazan hospitals.
This location has been our initial home. Since the war began, we haven't left it for even a moment. I was here from the start of December through January, during which it accommodated thousands of casualties. It was deeply saddening to experience this. We urge international organizations and the global community to urgently halt the war and supply field hospitals to manage the daily influx of injuries treated at under-equipped facilities, yet the number of casualties is overwhelming, and we lack sufficient operating theaters to address them. Nor do we have specialized facilities for patients with kidney and heart conditions. The health system is severely deficient, and immediate, swift intervention is crucial.
The Israeli occupation forces bombarded the Al-Shifa hospital and held its staff hostage under the pretense that the place served as a hiding place for Hamas fighters. This idea was discarded later on. Meanwhile, the recent discovery of mass graves in the facility, with hand-tied bodies, is an indisputable evidence of the fallacy of the Israeli justification and of the true nature and aim of its attacks against the Palestinian people.
In the United States, university students from different cities hold protests in rejection of Israel's crimes against the Palestinian people. Students at the University of Texas at Austin have joined the pro-Palestinian protests that have recently spread across the United States. In addition to the wave of university protests, there have also been demonstrations in defense of Palestine near the residences of prominent U.S. politicians and statesmen. On Wednesday in the United States, police forces arrested more than 100 university students gathered in protest against the genocide in Gaza. Social activists confirmed that police continue repressing demonstrators on college campuses across the nation. Students expressed that the mobilizations aim to show their solidarity with the Palestinians in Gaza and denounce U.S. government complicity with Israel. In turn, U.S. President Joe Biden denounced that such protests should not take place on university campuses, while human rights groups defend the right to freedom of expression. We have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Final short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. The Democratic People's Republic of Korea accused the United States of increasing tensions in the Indo-Pacific region by seeking to include Japan in the AUKUS alliance. According to analyst Kang Jin-sung from the state agency KCNA, Washington is intensifying its plan to expand and strengthen military blocs in the Asia-Pacific region. In turn, he pointed out that at the recent AUKUS Defense Ministers Summit comprising the United States, the United Kingdom and Australia, Japan's preferential participation was formalized. In this regard, he denounced that the U.S. government is seeking to put Japan at the forefront of anti-China pressure and push for a nuclear minefield in the Indo-Pacific region near the Asian giant. The alliance known as AUKUS is a strategic military alliance among Australia, United Kingdom and United States. This military bloc was publicly announced on September 15, 2021, and the pact among the members includes cooperation in cyber capabilities, artificial intelligence, quantum technologies and additional submarine capabilities. AUKUS supplies Australia of new long-range strike capabilities for its Air Force, Navy and Army. In turn, critics have pointed out that the alliance is designed to counter China's influence in the Indo-Pacific region. In Western Australia, between 50 and 100 pilot whales are stranded on a remote beach in Downsborough. The Parks and Wildlife Service said on Thursday that dozens of pilot whales are stranded near a sandy shore in a shallow water. The area is known as Dobbie's Inlet, more than 250 kilometers south of the city of Perth. In this regard, the agency said it has deployed its teams of officials, experts and veterinarians in response to the mass stranding to try to keep the marine mammals alive and get them back to the sea. On Wednesday in Mauritania, a human rights activist announced he will stand as candidate in the presidential elections. In this sense, Biram Ould Abeid, a Mauritanian human rights activist and opposition figure, runner-up in the last presidential elections, announces his candidacy for the June 29th elections. In the meantime, Ould Abeid, whose political group is not authorized and has no legal existence, expressed its concern about the functioning of the electoral process, alleging that it is aware of the imperfection of the electoral registry and the partially inadequacy of the Independent National Electoral Commission. In turn, Mauritania President Mohamed Ould Ghazouani on Wednesday also stated he would run for a second term as president. Precisely in this context, he defended that his government provided stability in the Sahel region, which faces rising jihadism. In this nation, polls indicate that Ghazouani, the current chairman of the African Union, is the clear favorite to win. It is worth noting that in 2023, his party won the legislative elections, taking 107 of the 176 seats in the National Assembly. The first round of general elections will take place on June 29th, with a possible second round on July 14th. Now we move to Kenya, where local authorities report 10 deaths from flooding in the capital of that African nation. In this regard, they reported that storms and flash floods turned streets into raging rivers and inundated homes in Nairobi. The East African region has been battered by incessant downpours in recent weeks as the El Niño weather pattern intensifies seasonal rains. On the other hand, the Kenyan Meteorological Department warned that heavy rains are expected in several parts of the country through May. According to the Nairobi County Governor's Office, some 60,000 people, mostly women and children, have been severely affected by the floods. Local Chinese media are also reporting severe flooding in the south of the country. Precisely the southern province of Canton, China's most populous with 127 million people, recorded heavy rains that caused the death of 4 people and the evacuation of more than 100,000 people. In the meantime, authorities warned that the province of Canton could again receive heavy rains up to 300 millimeters of rainfall in some places.
The losses cannot be counted. I can only say that the losses of silkworms can reach $5,510 to $6,900, and the losses of mulberry trees cannot be calculated.
We are used to floods. Previously, the silkworm rearing houses were flooded once every 10 years, but now the frequency is once in 2022 and once again this year.
We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok. For Telesur English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.